What are the differences that you've experienced between the Chamber of Commerce, CRTC, Quebecor, in terms of what David calls Mont Saint Michel, which is the invasion of social media and being able to communicate very quickly in the modern era?
When Quebecor had left before this was very present, although being on television, being the cable company, being telephone, of course, we had feedback all the time and we were doing lots of surveys. In VIA, social media existed and we had different technical issues and snowstorms and problems with CN because CN and VIA share the same railways and they belong to CN. And in consequence, we have many delays, and that you can be sure we have our clientele always reacting. And the minute it's really serious, the media take over, and it's very hard to keep a good reputation. Our way has been to offer an exemplary service on board, and I think in that respect, we have succeeded. VIA has had many challenges on that front. In Cisco, I've experienced that before I joined the board, where there was a possibility of creating an open mine on the former site. And the company had been very generous in relocalizing the citizens and organizing a community life by creating infrastructure. And yet, some citizens were adamant not to agree with that and not to accept a new mine in their city. And of course, the media took over. Mostly people from Montreal who had never been to Abitibi, but had a very deep sense. Public relation has to be constant. You cannot say, I have a problem, I will go and see those stakeholders. You've got to be aware what's your mapping of your stakeholders and make sure that you establish a certain continuity, that you are aware of decisions you take might have an impact. More you go upstream rather than after the fact, it's always better. That doesn't mean you won't have any problems, but it certainly helps. And there's something I want to say that I haven't talked about. David, you talked about the tour de table that I do all the time. I used to do that too when I was a CEO. It's something I've learned when I've started my life in management at University of Quebec in Montreal, because that university is co-managed in a given forum. There's always more unionized people than executives. So unless you do tour de table, unless you learn to talk to the different people, you never get to a common decision. So it takes a lot of time, but it's an investment. It's not time spent, it's time invested. Good. And you learn so much, not only what you bring to them in order to help their opinion to evolve, but also they bring information to you that makes your opinion more valid and can do more at the end in terms of benefit to the organization.